we've had them rotating for like the last 2 years and that's going to be sort of the next area where we go in with to put in new fields. So what the sheep have been doing, they've been sort of clearing it, showing us what we're working with, but then they're also like adding their manure to the soil. And so that's like doing that pre-prep, right? So that when we actually go in there, we start tilling and moving around, we're incorporating that into the soil. And then we don't have to do any amending of ourselves. The eventual goal is that as our trees mature more and they're bigger, we're going to actually rotate them to the orchards. It's a little tricky with organic certification and food safety when there's like the 90-120 rule. So if you have any crop that's coming in contact with raw manure, you have to wait 90 days or 120 days before you can harvest and sell it because of the potential contamination. So that's the beauty of like having a rotating system, right? So it's like, okay, as soon as they flower, you know, it's probably going to be 3 months, right? So it's like the citrus flowers, pull the animals out, move them to a different rotation, and then you're sort of safe from those rules. But that other 9 months or 8 months out of the year, they can be like funneling through your orchards. They were keeping the weed down, so you don't have to go and weed whack. You're not having to buy gas. You're not having to spend money on labor. They're eating the grass, pooping it out, building your soil health like that. So that's our long-term goal. That's why we have the sheep. But right now there's.
How much work is it to move the fencing? What's the linear footage, and why sheep versus goats?
All right. So reason we have sheep instead of goats is because goats are wily.
Yeah.
They will. They don't like to listen. They want to go out and escape and eat everything. Sheep, if they have a choice, they will eat grass, and that's it. Goats need to have other stuff to eat. They need bark. They need leaves because that's like it's part of their diet. And for a production-based farm, most production farms don't even have animals at all because of that food safety component. However, we incorporate animals because we think it's really important through an ecological perspective to have it's really important for the well-being if you're looking at the farm as an organism, right? Having that animal component a part of it. And but you always have the pros and cons, right? So we planted the first half of this orchard in middle of April, and that's day after the sheep got out of their fence and they took a little wander through the avocado orchard. They love avocado leaves.
New ones.
They're brand new, like literally planted a day before, and they got about 50% of these trees. Luckily, we didn't have any die on us, which is a miracle.
That's a miracle.
But yeah, so that's like the con is like, yeah, you have that component of like, oh no, they might escape, they might get into your fields, but we think the pros outweigh the cons, at least for now.
Is it electric fencing?
Yes, it's electric fencing. We get it from I'll remember the name in a bit, but we have 800 feet worth of fencing, so they come in 100-foot lengths. And we usually do them in sections of 4 or 5, depending. So we'll have like 5 fences put together for one pen, and then we'll do a secondary with just 3 or 4. That will be sort of like the. We try to rotate them once a week. So every Friday we move them into their pen, break it all down, rotate it, and then we put them back out on the field. But we have that secondary spot, like for somewhere where we don't need as much, a smaller place, and then we put them in there for like 2 days before we rotate the main area again. Pretty effective. You ever touched one before? Feels like a gut punch. They're pretty strong. Like the sheep learn really quickly to not touch it. So my dog will not. He sees me going that way, he'll sit and wait. He's been shocked one too many times.
Wet nose probably really doesn't feel good. Yeah.
The first couple of weeks we had him, there was a lot of howling dogs. If you, for $1,100, you can get 100, so 400, 100 lines. You can get the solar battery and like the test kit. So you essentially have, for $1,100, you can get a 1/4 acres worth of great pasture and everything you need to do it.
Where did you get the sheep? Because I can't find sheep.
So we started off with 2 sheep from Mark Suiza, Mango Mark, Makaha Mangoes. He gave them to us, and then we bred them, and then we actually got a new ram from Tin Roof Ranch over in North Shore, And then we recently got another ram because we're trying to. Sheep, they don't really care. They'll just keep on breeding. You can sort of get away with it like 1-2 generations. You know, after the second generation, that's when you start, you know, seeing the traits. So usually, if we have a third generation, we eat those no matter what. But we've brought in another ram from Nick Rapoon over in Kako'o. So we've had 3 different rams that sort of in our bloodline. We probably could sell some sheep. We're trying to sort of downsize, so just let you know. Travis he's our sheep man. He's on vacation right now, but when he gets back, we just sold actually 2 to Kaala Farms. So they got I think a ram and a ewe. But yeah, I think animals, you know, as much as usually in production you don't use them, I think they're still a very important part. And as long as you can manage them appropriately, they have a lot of benefits. Plus, they're just great to have around. You know, like hanging out with the sheep, hanging out with the pigs. You really get to know them. It's like a pet, essentially. And they add a lot of character to the place.